Tēnā koutou. Te taumata ki Parawera. Parawera Marae is located 15 kilometres to the southeast of Te Awamutu. Its principal hapu are Ngāti Ruru, Wainganui, and Wero Kōkō o Ngāti Raukawa. The whare is named Tāne Te Rangi Kapua. The marae connects to the Tainui Waka, the Awa Waikato, and the Maunga Tautiri. After the initial meeting at Whatiwhatihoe, the concept was moved to Parawera. It was to become the foundation of an annual event which was themed around commemorating and the sharing of the annual harvest from the fields with the widowed, the bereaved, and the destitute, to pay tribute and remembrance to the spirit of loved ones past. The year was 1885. The name Parawera derives from the bodily expression of a chief when at the height of battle below the foothills of Maunga Tautari mountain he ejaculated, hence the term para, semen, and his penis erected reflected his superiority in battle. It is important that the name is not pronounced with a double vowel as in Parawera. To note the correct spelling of the name is Parawera. The late Peter Keremeta of Raukawa shared with me in 1994 at Hopuhopu the tikanga of the name, which came from the battle that took place on the ancestral mountain Maunga Tautari between the warring factions of Raukawa to the north and Raukawa to the south. Its rivalry escalated and battle to conquer the Maunga conceded to Raukawa ki Panehakua of the north. At the height of power over these southern relatives, the chiefs, in his excitement, ejaculated, and thereby hence the saying, Parawera, translated, hot semen. Tawhio, 100 years, 1894 to 1994. Tawhio passed at Parawera on the 26th of August, 1894. After 34 years, his reign was limited by the greed of George Grey, then Governor of New Zealand for land. Tawhio resorted to redress that of confiscated Waikato land, but to no avail. He travelled to England to redress the taking of land. Tawhio was side-benched by the colonial government of New Zealand, which with the courtiers of Victoria's palace intervened and stopped a meeting with the King and Queen Victoria. The King returned to Aotearoa. By 1885, he had established a Poukai. Tawhio continued to pursue the redress for the return of land. As a practitioner of philosophical beliefs, his word and practices became a testament of belief by his people. They carried the words of his sayings that became the faith in which was all that was left after the impact of the colonial legalized theft of 1.2 million acres of land. A crime in which resulted in the deprivation of his people, becoming landless, poor, decline in health, death, poverty-stricken over 132 years. Parawera became the monumental statement of his pursuit for justice. On the 26th of August, 1894, the King passed away at Parawera. He lay in state there, mourned by his people. They acknowledged his legacy. He was then taken to Maungakawa, to the place where he had established a council for the purpose of representation in the colonial structure, to have a united voice for Māoridom in the colonial parliament process of equity under the Te Riti o Waitangi. Lying in state of Maungakawa, Morrisville district, the King's cortege was then taken to Ukanui, where he lay there before finally being laid to rest with his people on Te Mutua o Tūtonga, Taupiri. In my capacity as radio broadcaster, I covered the 100-year centenary of the King Manso Mangakawa, the young owners of the farm, land where Te Kahanu once stood. They allowed Waikato to descend onto the land, to have kariki and to complete the cycle of 100 years, to commemorate the king and to bring closure. Te Arikinui arrived at 3 p.m. by helicopter. With kariki complete, she and her people returned to Rukumoana Marae. Starting at Parawera, ending at Tūrangawaewae, Te Arikinui hosted a memorial breakfast in Kimiora. Part of the anniversary program was that everyone was asked to walk across the river to what is now known as the Kingitanga Reserve, to pay their respect to the kaumata of the Kingitanga during that period of Tawhia's reign. Having done so, we returned to Kimiora. Tā Sir Robert Te Kotai Mahuta spoke and recalled the commitment of the king to his people. Tawhia's messianic belief had led his people into the salvation to which he spoke of during his reign. It was this belief which gave his people the courage to survive. Te Arikinui themed their Koorero rangatanga of Paimarire. Today, this legacy is practiced and carried by the Tariao. To end the commemoration, the hymn, Ka mahu e hipa, te kainga te he. Te kainga hohu e rapua nei, he oki oki ngā. This was the hymn that was sung at the inauguration of King Pōtatau Te Whetawhero on the 2nd of May, 1858, in Ngārua Wāhia. With karakia, the centenary of Tawhia was complete. Parawera Marae has a comprehensive relationship with the Poukai structure. How did the round Poukai begin? Why and what were the reasons? March was the month in which the harvest was abundant. Kai was plentiful, and so when the Poukai was established, hapu were keen to share their crops with whānau hapuanewi. The tikanga established at Whatiwhatihoi gave purpose to the Poukai. Hapu opened their doors to manifest the saying of King Tawhia. He kua ha whānui kua puare te puaru, te puni te rao Koorero. During the latter years of his reign, King Koriki made the decision to combine the Poukai o Parawera o Wairaka Rākau Nui, Waipapa Maketu, and Ōkapu to make it easier for ngā ponoa kaumātua of that time to support the Poukai. Travelling each day to the Poukai was taxing and costly. The kaumātua then never had the raupati settlement to cover their daily costs as those do today. Travelling to and from each Poukai was exhausting, so the king made the decision to combine all the Poukai in March. The Waiata Ngā Putiputi o Ngā Marae was written by Pumitaitua, trained around. He started the whakapapa of the Waiata with the Poukai at Parawera and ended it with Tūrangawaewae. Tiro tiro, kauana kei whera koutou. Ngā kanoa hi ora kuangaro. Kua riro ki tawhiti nui ki pāmamau. Ngā Putiputi o Ngā Marae. Dedicated to the ruruhi of the marae who have passed. The verses resonate the identity of each marae. Each year, the March series of Poukai became dubbed as a round, starting at Parawera, then ending at Tūrangawaewae. The round or te rauna would start at Tūrangawaewae, the bus of kaumātua, and a round would have karakia in Tūrango courtyard. Then the Taniwharau brass band would lead the karakia. Having completed this, passengers going on a round would start the journey and their experience. Each overnight stay at the 6 marae wana, Koorero by kaumātua. The weaving of hats, kits were a daily activity. The round completed at Tūrangawaewae would then extend to the annual regatta, which was returned to Tūrangawaewae in 1972. The last weekend of March is the Poukai at Marakopa and Te Kuiti. To acknowledge the Parawera Marae chairman and master carver, Te Toiwamu Warren McGrath, Ngāti Ruru. He was the lone carver who built and carved Tātai Iora and Tangitakiwi. Tātai Iora was carved to commemorate the 150 years of the Kingitanga in 2008. The waka was launched at 4 p.m. on the morning of the second anniversary of Kingitu Heitia. The Tahatika East embankment of the river below the Papakai at Tūrangawaewae was lined 10 heads deep along the 1,000-metre strip. The Taraki offered, when I asked the name of the waka, its peoplemen, Kaihau tu Huirama, Matatai called out, Ko Tātahi Ora. Waipo to Incorporation Mangakina sponsored the trees, which were believed to have been sourced from the Parawera forest. The name Taura was the choice of key into Haiti because it was synonymous to a way of life for whānau at Wahipa. The creek, parallel to the marae, was iconic in many ways. It was a playground of children, pātakakai, food source. Its water provided spiritual uplifting and physical healing. Children jumped off the haunia of the Winika, which had been submerged underwater. Tangita Kiwi, the knowledge and the skill acquired during the building and construction of Taere Tiki had to be maintained if the traditional art form was to survive. Piri Potapu had encouraged carvers to build a waka. With the remaining logs yet tagged for another project, the carvers proceeded to construct a waka using their newfound skills. Upon completion, the many challenges that faced the men were various. Flaws were many and natural to any project of such a magnitude. Nevertheless, the builders acquired good knowledge and have continued to maintain the integrity of their learning skills over 40 years. Ngapi Waka was a figureman for the waka. Eventually, Tangita Kiwi was dry docked as the problem of wood rot had consumed part of the waka. In 2008, Tangita Kiwi Tuarua was refashioned again by Master Kapa Te Toi Wamu Warren. Tangita Kiwi was assigned to Ngāti Hoa.